Hello, welcome to Ron's T-Bone Shed, except in the living room. Again, second video for the evening. I pulled out a bunch of horns because I bought a bunch of horns. I didn't have cases, and I figured since I have them out, I might as well do a review on them. So let's take a look. I'm going to try to make this one short. Let's take a look at what we got here. I don't exactly remember the years, but this is a Getzen KT. I think it's a later model. It's got 7.5-inch bell. It's actually a 4-digit serial number, so chances are it was made either in the 60s or early 70s. So we got the Getzen KT, one of my all-time favorite horns, because it always produces such a wonderful sound. And then they had a step-up horn called the Capri. So this is the Getzen Capri, probably, like I said, most likely a 1980s model. It's got an 8-inch bell instead of a 7.5-inch bell. I had to straighten the bell out. It came damaged. A lot of very similar configurations, same kind of bracing as you would see on the KT series. Same kind of sleeves up here at the top, same kind of mohawk, comes with a built-in counterweight. Okay, and nickel, no, these, I can't tell right now in the lighting here, but let's see, these are nickel outers. The KT has brass outers with nickel sleeves at the top. And then from the Capri, another step up, and we have the Getzen Eterna. So the Eterna was considered the pro line, but in my opinion, all the Getzens were pro worthy and pro quality. This one did not have the mohawk on top, which I kind of find a little depressing because that is an ingenious invention that all student horns should have, and just horns should have. And this one has a built-in, a heavier counterweight. This one doesn't have those heavier braces that the older Getzens do, but this is I'm pretty sure this is a 1970s, maybe early 1980s Getzen, and it has an SE series serial number on it, not a KT series. And this is very much like, the KT series. It's got the brass sleeves at the top, okay? Nothing special at the bottom, and just the brass sleeves up here. So it's configured very much like, the KT series, which were bought a lot as student horns, but they're really much better than student horns. Then you had the Capri, and then you had the Eterna. So that's all three in that stage. This one I got, okay, now we got a couple Holtons here. These are some extra ones that I bought. I was just been working on the tuning slides here. This one looked more lumpy like this one did, but I was refining this one tonight during DCI finals. This one here is a Holton 65. Okay, Buddy Morrow version, red brass bell. Just recently got it, and it came to me in pieces, and I put it back together. And I'm still trying to get the slide nice, and had to take some dents out of the bell. But that red brass bell really makes the tone color nice and warm. And this has brass sleeves on the slide, and this has nickel sleeves on the slide and a brass crook. Then we come over here, and we have a Holton Stratodyne. Stratodyne succeeded the 65. It's the 67. And this comes with a lightweight slide, all nickel. Same kind of slide here where it's brass at the bottom. But this is a lighter slide than on the 65. Very much same configuration. You can see it's nickel here and across the top here with a yellow brass top. Same here. But you can see that the shape is different. This is narrower, a little narrower. It looks narrower because it's rounder here, and this one's a little more squared off. And it also has the red brass. And if you look at it, it's a little redder than the 65. Now, this is a one-off. I got this off of Goodwill. Just labeled it as a vintage horn. And I saw that it had a 2-piece bell. And I said, well, that's either an Olds or a Reynolds. But when I saw the counterweight, I said, that's not an Olds counterweight. But these are certainly, Olds and Reynolds shared these gusseted braces here to give more support to it. Now, there's nickel. These are solid. Okay, it's got a counterweight here. Solid here, right? Nickel flare. All right, it's been attached or brazed to the brass. I think this is yellow brass. I can't really tell through the lacquer. Okay, the gusseted hand brace here on the slide. Yellow brass slide. Yellow brass crook. I've just cleaned it up. I just got all the slides working. This slide was in pretty bad condition, but I got it working. So I'm going to go ahead and play these for you. But I can tell you one thing about this. So the question is, what is this? So it's not a Reynolds. It's an Ohio Band Instruments Roth which is their fancy model, which is the Tone Tempered Roth. That hence the nickel bell flare here. And this was in the Ohio Band Instrument Company, which basically is the same company, same owners as Roth Reynolds. Okay, so they created the Ohio Band Instrument Company to create band instruments, for student models. But the Roth was considered a budget pro horn, and then this Roth Tone Tempered one was a next step up. So this one, I think, ended up evolving into the Reynolds Emperor. But I played this earlier today. It's just a heftier horn. There's nothing light about it. It's kind of thick. It has a really rich tone. It has a very strong core and a strong center because the instrument is made very durably. But let me grab a mouthpiece, and then we'll give each one of these a little toot, okay? Okay, I'm back. So we're going to go ahead and start with the Getzen KT. Slide's pretty good here. It's not perfect. There's still a little click, little noise here, so I call that about a 7. Okay, but it's smooth. I have a bunch of these that I'm going to be refurbing and selling soon. So if you're interested in one of these KTs, fantastic horn. Everybody who's bought one loves it. So here we go. I'm going to be playing this on just a standard 6.5 AL S. Okay? So there we go, a little smile for you. Nice horn, good response, has a very strong focused tone to it with warmth, because these aren't really heavy bells on these Getzens, but the slides are very substantial. And as I mentioned in my previous video, when the slides are heavier weight, it maintains the response. And then when it hits the bell, and this does too, this actually helps maintain the response, but once it hits the bell, the yellow brass warms it up a little bit, warmer than nickel or sterling silver. All right, next horn. Now we're over here. We're to the Capri, the Getzen Capri. Very similar configuration as the KT. It has a KT serial number, but it's a little different. Nickel slide, so this is going to have some nice response. What's the difference? The 8-inch bell. Okay, so the larger bell gives it more tonal color and response because of the extra metal on the ends. Kind of warms it up, but it does take a little more air. You have to push a little more to get that bell to vibrate, unlike a 7.5-inch bell. But it's got a warmer tone to it. Very nice. Very nice. The only other Capri I have is all silver. And this one's going to be a little warmer than that one, but I don't have that one out here. Okay, now for the Eterna. I haven't actually played this in a while. I'm going to play it right now. So right away, much warmer. Why? Well, you don't have that mohawk up here holding that vibration and zipping it through. So this is going to warm it up a little bit. The brass slide is going to warm it up a little bit, unlike the nickel slide on the Capri. And again, the 8-inch bell. And these braces aren't the heavier Getzen braces. So this is also going to allow more vibration and more absorption of the vibration as it goes through the horn. So it's going to make it warmer. And then this bell, that's a good weight. Actually, it's not bad. for sure. So, Getzen Eterna. Okay, now we're going to leave the Getzens. We're going to go over here to the Holtons. First one we're going to pick up is the Holton 65. I think it's a late 50s, early 1960s Buddy Morrow model. The earlier Holton 65s were like a 481, 42, a 45, actually, I think 45, bore with yellow brass. I actually have one that's all silver. And those were a different horn than this one. This is a 491 with a red brass on it. So it's a little bigger and it's a little warmer. 7.5-inch bell. So more direct. Doesn't require so much air to get the sound out. And it speaks a little quicker because of the smaller bell. The other thing about the Holtons, so you don't get the vibration up here like you do with the Cons and Kings and Bachs. It's pretty much from the bell forward. I've talked about this regarding Holtons and Olds and other videos, but that makes some players really uncomfortable that they can't feel the whole horn vibrate in their hands. But these older horns were designed for ballroom, outdoor, and large venue playing, which was to push the sound forward, not to keep it close by and warm and spread, for, microphones and recording. So, outdoor playing. Okay, next one. The Holton Stratodyne, model 67. This one looks very similar to the other one. The difference is that it's a lightweight slide, and I think might be a lighter weight bell. Then the etching's totally different on this horn. So yeah, nickel all the way up here, nickel across the top. Yellow brass here, red brass here. And nickel sleeves on the slide, yellow brass crook. Already feels like a more contemporary horn. It's lighter, it's warmer, and it's more responsive. That's the Holton 67. That's the Stratodyne. So the Holton Stratodyne was kind of the evolution of the 65. I'm pretty sure they discontinued the 65 when they moved to the 67. And some others came after it, like the 69 was a dual bore. I haven't found one of those yet. I'd like to. And then LeBlanc bought Holton and changed all the model numbers to T numbers, like a T601, a T201, T100. The T401N was the Galaxy, which was the G66, the Galaxy 66. They changed it to the T401N. Okay, so anyway, Holton 67, the evolution after the 65, lighter weight, warmer tone, quicker response, just a different horn. It's very nice. Okay, next one. We're going to go here, and we're going to go straight to the Roth Tone Tempered. Now, this is an older model because before they had the R counterweight up here, which I like because my name's Ron, Roth had the R counterweight just like the Reynolds did, except I think they turned the R around different. I'm not sure. But even the Reynolds, the early Reynolds from the late 40s and early 50s had the counterweight on it. So now this does feel heftier. It feels heavier, but I really do like this tiny little solid hand brace. I've talked about it every time I've had one of these horns in my hands. Still isn't fully refined yet because I've been cleaning it, working on it. Nickel, yellow, but you can hear the difference. Little deader up here, liver down here. So it's going to come through here and then it's going to sparkle up as it exits the bell. So here's some stats on this for you, okay? Like I said, it feels heftier, it feels a little heavier. It's really 2 pounds and 11 ounce, no, 2 pounds, 14 ounces. So it's not quite 3 pounds, which is kind of a standard weight for small tenors. The other thing is the outer slide is 8.4 ounces, which is a little heavier than most. Most are, like 7.9, 7.8, 8.2. This one is a heavier outer slide. So the whole horn as a whole is less than 3 pounds, which is pretty standard. Okay. And so I think the heft that I'm feeling is in the slide because it's a heavier slide. So this is going to give you response, and this is going to give you response. The rest of it's going to warm up around, as it travels from the mouthpiece out to the bell. Here we go. So the most obvious thing to me is just the support and the core of the tone of this horn just seems like it's really centered around a thick tube. It's just the way it feels. The horn isn't really any heavier than like a 3B or a 6H, but just the feel of it when I play it is a feel of solidity. That core tone is really focused, but it's warmer. So it's kind of a cross between an Olds. It kind of has a feeling of an Olds. It has sort of that tonal focus that comes out of the bell like an Olds, but it's warmer and not quite as heavily as responsive as the Olds are, because the Olds have that dual bore slide where it's a 485 on the top and a 500 on the bottom. So you get that response from the smaller bore on the top, and then you get the bigger sound as it goes around the horn. Well, the Reynolds wasn't like that. Foster Reynolds designed a singular 500 bore. And so this just has a whole different tone to it. If anything, it reminds me more of a Con 38H Constellation. It's more like that than anything else. But if you didn't know anything about Foster Reynolds, he worked for H.N. White King for 16 years as one of their designers before he started his Reynolds company. And then after he sold Reynolds, he was lured to go work for Olds and design their entire ambassador line. So whenever you see an Olds ambassador, anything, whether it's a trumpet, trombone, baritone, flugelhorn, French horn, whatever, those are all Foster Reynolds designs. So Reynolds made some really great horns. And if you want to know more about who played Reynolds, if you go look up some album covers of Jack Teagarden, you're going to find him holding a Reynolds with the R counterweight on it. So Mr. famous trombonist Jack Teagarden played Reynolds. So there you go. There's your endorsement for you. Anyway, I hope you like this episode. This one went kind of quick. I didn't want to make it I didn't want to make this too long, but just long enough for you guys to enjoy it and not long enough to bore you to death. Anyway, stay tuned. Like I always say, watch my channel because you can see what's going to be going up for sale soon. I haven't had anything up because I've been working on everybody's individual projects, and I need to start pushing horns out because I got a whole bunch that I need to sell that need to go into your hands because it needs a loving new owner to play these wonderful vintage American-made trombones. All right, talk to you later.